How's it going, guys? And welcome back to BL3's Forgotten, the series where I take a look at underused and not often talked about pieces of gear to determine whether or not they deserve to be remembered within the modern meta of the game or should be left behind and forgotten. And today we are taking a look at the Star Helix. If you'd like to farm the Star Helix for yourself, you're going to want to fast travel over to Atlas HQ on Promethea, which will bring you to the fast travel station that we will be resetting from. Take a right out of that room and then a left, running all the way towards the back where you can mantle up this wall. Heading towards the corner, the power troopers will jump on down from above, with the black, red, and yellow power troopers being able to drop the Star Helix. Sometimes if some of them are being stubborn and don't want to jump on down, you can shoot up towards them to draw their aggro towards you. The Star Helix is a legendary Dahl assault rifle able to roll in non-elemental, shock, cryo, or radiation damage. The Star Helix fires 3 projectiles per shot for 1 ammo cost per shot, with one of the projectiles flying straight down the middle, with the other 2 being positioned to the left and right of that middle projectile, and will horizontally oscillate as they fly through the air, intersecting the middle projectile. The Star Helix has received a single buff, being a 75% weapon damage increase. The Star Helix is an interesting one, because it may not necessarily be forgotten, but that's only because I've seen people actively hate on it. I've used this gun in the background footage for a couple other videos, and in doing so, I've received multiple people questioning why I use it instead of something like the Soul Render, Breath of the Dying, or really any other AR someone could compare it to. And I sort of get it. I mean, the gun is practically the love child between the Varuk and the Interfacer, and if that alone hasn't sold you, I'm not sure anything else can, but to be fair, the Star Helix has had a rocky life cycle. In the early days of BL3, it was a pretty damn solid gun, probably being one of the better options overall at the endgame of Mayhem 3. And honestly, trying to think back all the way that far, I can't think of any other assault rifles at the time that were actually comparable to it. There wasn't really that many options, and on top of that, many of the base game assault rifles that are currently incredibly good only got that way after some buffs. So I feel pretty confident saying that this was pretty high up there in the meta. But even as early as when the original Mayhem 4 came around, the Helix began to fall off. At no point was it ever bad, but there was definitely a time where it was hard to justify using over nearly anything else. But those days have long since passed, and post-buff, the Star Helix is fucking insane. Keep in mind, while a 75% damage buff is a pretty big buff, this is an AR with 3 projectiles that converge. The best way to use this weapon effectively is to learn the sweet spot of when they converge, and in doing so means that that buff is actually 3 times as effective because you're getting that 75% weapon damage increase on each individual projectile. So it was significantly more impactful than it may initially seem. That convergence though is also part of what really makes me love the Star Helix. Not only is it just very strong, but I love weapons with learning curves like these. It's fun to pick up a gun, see that it has potential, and see where that full potential is, and then spend some time getting the hang of it to really maximize that potential. When you start getting those distances down and knowing when they all converge and you're just laying into an enemy's crit spot, it feels incredibly good, and not only just feeling good because it's very strong, but it's also just very satisfying when you do start getting those hits. But it's also just a very good all-around option. It holds up incredibly well across all the content in the game and every single Vault Hunter, being incredibly plug and play with them. There's no special shenanigans you need to pull out to make this thing do work. But with that being said, there is of course some pretty cool synergies with it as well. Phase Grasp and other forms of CC like the Frozen Heart can be incredibly helpful in keeping enemies within that sweet spot, and if you're having some trouble getting the hang of distances while you're starting out using this thing, I would highly recommend it. Having 3 projectiles with a pretty fast fire rate also means that there is lots of potential procs from Megavore, Short Fuse, and Indiscriminate, which can definitely make this thing even more of a beast on those respective characters. But overall, the Star Helix is just simply a great time and an incredibly strong assault rifle with a pretty fun and pretty interesting learning curve to it. One that definitely makes it unique enough to stand out on its own against the other options, being a more precision-based weapon that rewards precise gameplay, rather than just the more standardized experience that a lot of Dahl assault rifles offer. But that's gonna about do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Right after this video goes up, I will be live right here on YouTube and also from my Twitch channel, where there'll be a link to down in the description below. And just under that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.